Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters. In the previous session, we had a brief look at some of the etiquettes that we need to take care of before we actually begin to start reciting the Qur'an. So we saw some spiritual etiquettes, some fiqh matters, and then we saw the matters related to ta'awudh and the basmalah. Now we are ready to start reciting the Qur'an. But before we do that, we need to know the Arabic alphabet. So from this session onwards, we are going to deep dive into Makharij, how to recite the letters of the Arabic alphabet. Our first session in this series today will just be a brief introduction to Makharij. So we will start by looking at what letters or consonants are part of the Arabic alphabet and how do we identify the vowels in the Arabic language. We will then move on to understand how sounds generally emanate and what we mean by Makhraj or an articulation point. And finally, we will close the session by understanding what are the 5 main articulation areas through which Arabic letters emanate. The Arabic alphabet consists of 29 letters that you see on the screen right now. Their names are as follows: Alif, Ba, Ta, Tha, Jim, Ha, Kha, Dal, Thal, Ra, Za, Sin, Sheen, Sad, Dad, Ta, Dha, Ain, Ghain, Fa, Qaf, Kaf, Lam, Mim, Noon, Waw, Ha, Hamzah, Ya. If you compare the way I recited the Arabic alphabet to the way we recite the English alphabet, you must have noticed that the letters of the Arabic language were recited from right to left. And this is how it goes with the Arabic language. We always recite it from right to left, compared to English, which is always read from left to right. Another important thing to note is that the English alphabet includes consonants and vowels both in the alphabet. So you see A, E, I, O, U, all these vowels are already part of the English alphabet and they are included within the alphabet of the English language. Whereas if you see in the Arabic alphabet, the vowels are outside the Arabic alphabet, they are not part of the Arabic consonants. Another thing that differentiates the Arabic language from the English language is that in the Arabic language we don't have any different uppercase or lowercase letters like how we have in the English language. Also, with respect to punctuation marks, we do not have any punctuation marks in classical Arabic texts. Yes, in newspapers that come today, maybe the punctuation marks could be added for easier readability, but not in classical Arabic texts. Let us now look at the vowels in the Arabic language. The fatha, as denoted by this sign on top of the Arabic letter, would represent the English vowel A, such as the sound in bat, B-A-T, bat. In the same way, the vowel sound of U, as in put, is represented by the dhamma sign, this sign on top of the Arabic letter, while the kasra, which corresponds to the sound of E, as in pit, is represented by this sign below the Arabic letter. So any letter which has a vowel associated to it would be called a mutaharrik letter. A voweled letter in Arabic is called a mutaharrik letter. In the Arabic language, we have a special sign called the Sukoon sign. Now this Sukoon sign, when it is present on top of a letter, it indicates absence of any harakah or any vowel on that letter. And the letter itself is called a sakin letter. The sign itself originates from the head of the letter Kha without its dot, as can be seen on the screen. The word khafif literally means light. So it is light in the sense that it does not carry the burden or the weight of any vowel with it. So you see the Sukoon sign in this verse, Lam yalid wa lam yulad. These letters, the Mim, the Dal, they do not carry any vowel signs and hence they are called sakin letters. A special note about the letter Alif. As we have seen, all the Arabic letters, they can occur as voweled or they can occur as sakin letters. So they can carry a harakah like a fatha, kasra or a dhamma, or they may occur as a sakin letter without any harakah. But alif is the only letter in the Arabic language that does not occur with the harakah or a vowel sign. It only occurs as a sakin letter, a special kind of a sakin letter. So there is no sukoon sign on top of it, but there is always a fatha preceding it. Inshallah, more about the mudud and how to pronounce the mudud and how to identify the mudud and the different types we will be studying later, inshallah. We will also see that the alif can be a carrier or a chair for different kinds of hamzas, the hamzatul wasl and the hamzatul qat'a. So if it occurs as a carrier or a chair for hamza, then in that case the hamza itself can carry any vowel with it. Let's study the example given below. So here you see the first alif is a carrier for the hamza, and the hamza is having a vowel kasrah below it. But if you see here in the word amanu, the alif is not carrying any sign on top of it, not even the sukoon sign, and it is being preceded by a fatha on top of the hamza. So this alif is occurring as a mad. In the same way the alif out here, watawa. So here also we see the alif preceded by a fatha without any sign on top of the alif. So this alif is also acting as an alif mad. So now after this brief introduction of the Arabic alphabet, the Arabic consonants and the vowels, we will now move on into the discussion of how to recite these letters of the Arabic language. But even before we do that, let's try to understand how do sounds generally emanate from things. So one of the ways by which sound is generated is by the collision or coming together of two separate bodies. For example, when you clap your hands or when you bang a hammer to a wooden board. The other way is when two bodies which are originally joined, they are separated. So for example, when you have a stick and you break the stick into two, the sound that is emanated from the breaking, that could be one way. Or when you're tearing a piece of paper or pulling it apart. Another way is when a body is made to oscillate or vibrate, just as when you strike a pair of tongs, the sound that is emanated from it. Sound can also be emanated when two hard surfaces are rubbed against one another. A classic example for that would be the sound that is emanated when you're cutting a piece of wood with the help of a saw. So these are some of the ways by which vibrations lead to sound waves that can be heard by the human ear. Note that the air around us is filled with vibrations, but not all of it can be heard by the human ear. Our ear can hear only sounds that belong to a specific frequency. Anything below or above that range of frequency would not be heard by us. Having said that, let us now examine how sounds are formed within the mouth. What is the definition of a letter? What do we mean by makhraj? How do the letters form within the mouth? Basically, makhraj is nothing but the place of emitting the sound of an Arabic letter. Now, sounds of letters rely either upon specific articulation points like tongue, teeth or throat, or they may rely upon an approximate articulation point. Let's take the example of the letter dal. If you have to recite the letter dal with a sukoon, ad, then in this case we see that the sound initially emerges from the vocal cords and then hits an obstruction, the actual articulation point of dal, which is when the tip of the tongue strikes a particular area of the mouth. This is called an obstruction because it comes in the way of the sound and cuts off its path. So the sakin letter emerges with the collision of two parts, just like when you clap with your two hands. But in case of a mutaharrik letter, the sound is formed by pulling two parts apart from each other, accompanied by the sound of the harakah. For example, in case of ma, mu, mi, you start when the lips are already joined together, and then when you pull the two lips apart from each other, the sound emerges, and not just the sound of the meme but also the sound of the harakah. For example, ma is both the sound of meme as well as the sound of the fatha. The same goes with the case of mi and mu. As for the approximate articulation point, let's take the example of the alif mad, which we have seen recently. Now this alif mad comes from the empty space of the mouth and throat. If I say ah, the sound begins from the vocal cords and continues along a path towards the outside of the mouth. Is there any obstruction in this path? No. And therefore, if someone asks where does the sound of alif come from, there is no specific articulation point. Yes, the sound originates from the vocal cords, but the alif itself, it utilizes the empty space of the throat and mouth without any specific area or obstruction within the mouth or the throat. So dear brothers and sisters, inshallah, we will be studying the Makharij or the articulation points of all the Arabic letters by grouping them into 5 major points, as you can see on the screen right now. The first being Al-Jawf, and this is the empty space in the throat and the mouth from where the mad letters are emitted. The second being Al-Halq, the throat area, and this is responsible for the emission of 6 of the Arabic letters. We then have the tongue or the lisan, and you will see that the tongue is responsible for emitting 18 of the Arabic letters. All of these we will be studying in detail as to their specific makhraj or the articulation point. The fourth is Ash-Shafatan, the 2 lips. 4 Arabic letters are emitted from the lips. And finally Al-Khayshum or the nasal passage. This passage is the source of the ghunnah or the nasalization, without which we cannot even recite the 2 letters Mim and Noon correctly, and Allah knows best. Inshallah, in the next session we will be covering in detail the makhraj of the letters that come out from the Jawf area and the Halq area. This is your brother Shadab signing off until we meet again. Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.